Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.
Assalamu alaikum. We are back once again for another edition of Behind the Final Call cover story. This week, the cover, Wars and Rumors of Wars. A crisis in Ukraine has drawn the world's attention, but insecurity in a global problem with nation rising against nation, conflicts mounting, and World War III on the horizon. This volume of the paper is volume number 41, number 26. Date on the paper is April 5th. Assalamu alaikum, Brother Naba. Why this cover story?
Well, alaikum salam, Brother Troy. I think again I'd have to kind of start in a sense where I started last week, that this particular conflict in Ukraine is really one that we need to pay attention to. And as the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan has said very emphatically, this war in Ukraine is opening the door to wider war. America will eventually be drawn into the war. And then eventually these events and conflicts will bring us into the war prophesied in the Bible, in the Holy Quran. So when you look at the headline for the story itself, it says something like, these wars take on a life of their own. And we had one of the analysts that we talked to, Phyllis Bennis. She talked about how she doesn't believe that Mr. Biden or Mr. Putin really wants to get into a global third world war. But she said, but these things have a way of getting out of control. And what did we see over this weekend? Over this past weekend, we saw the president make a statement about Mr. Putin, that he needed to go, that he essentially should not be ruling the country. And before that, the US president has called Russia's leader a war criminal, a butcher, a thug. So when he said something like, I think it was 9 words, something like, oh my God, that man has to go. The question was, what does that mean in terms of regime change? So that immediately escalated the situation. And so when we look at how easily things can change, the other thing, the president made a major speech in Poland, but before his speech, rockets were fired into Ukraine from Russia that were a little over 245 miles from the border, from Poland. Now, remember, Mr. Biden has already gone on record as saying that America will protect every inch of NATO soil. NATO, of course, is the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. That's the Western nations that are allied with the United States, right? So we really wanted to bring that to people's attention. We've got some good analysis. So we hope people will go to finalcall.com and read it. We hope you will also subscribe so you can actually get the paper every week with your digital subscription. We definitely want you to support our print edition because I think there's a very beautiful layout, design, and representation. The other thing, however, we wanted to do was to talk about other conflicts that aren't getting as much attention today, right? Because these other conflicts still exist. Something like a 12-year-old war in Syria. We got war in Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa. We have some things that happen between basically North Korea launching some missiles in terms of testing to show her capability. And then we saw South Korea respond. So these other conflicts are going on around the world all at the same time. So we really wanted, and we hope that you will take the time to look at our coverage as we get into all of these mounting clashes. So it may be nation against nation, it may be people fighting in the same nation. We've had several coups, probably at least 3 in Africa, no, 3 in Africa over the last year, probably, maybe a little more than that. So our point is the world is full of insecurity. And what you see in Ukraine is something that the Western media is focused on. Because honestly, these are Caucasian people, and the lives of Caucasian people are valued. So this conflict becomes important in the eyes of the dominant news media. Not only that, again, this war has wider implications and repercussions as well. For example, you had one top Russian official say recently that Russia will use nuclear weapons if it feels that its existence is at stake. That's an incredibly important statement that no one has really been making. The whole point of nuclear weapons is mutually assured destruction. That is so clear that the first strike anybody launches is going to be the last strike for everybody. Russia is saying we're basically willing to destroy the world if we feel like our existence is threatened. So we hope that you will read that. The most important part of that are the words from the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan and the Honorable Elijah Muhammad about what this war represents. Because we don't need just public policy analysis or political analysis. We need an understanding from script.
Praise due to Allah. Thank you for that, Brother Naba. And of course, I know I have to address, as they say, the elephant in the room. Of course, you're used to most who are following us that this is not your first time. We usually do this a lot early in the day, but things happen. Life is always happening. We're always trying to keep our word. So we said, man, let's try to see if we can get this in, even if we're not able to do it at our normal time. So thank you for those who did join us this evening. And please take the opportunity to like and share. I'm looking for you at the, in the comments so that we can share your thoughts. And definitely, as always, we appreciate your support as well as your comment and your feedback. Thank you for that. So just keeping it moving, Brother Nob. Of course, that is the cover story on page 2, which is War Takes on a Life of Their Own. As you mentioned, there is the additional subtitle that they can find of that article with Biden's words: Ukraine conflict, meeting of Western leaders, trouble keeps brewing, growing tensions pit nation against nation. Definitely want to check that out. And of course, get an alternative perspective outside of the dominant narrative that we hear from mainstream media. And we're going to keep it going on because another story that's definitely important that people need to make sure that they take a look at. And, that is our sister, the Supreme Court hearing exposes ongoing anger, unraveling of U.S. politics. I know many of you have heard what was said from the perspective of the mainstream media, but what can they expect in this article? Brother Nab?
Well, I think one of the things, and this is something, you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay, cool. All right, okay. Very good. What we wanted to do, anyone who watched these hearings saw how badly this highly intelligent, highly accomplished Black woman was mistreated, right? That's huge and shows our status in this society, regardless of our brilliance, regardless of what we accomplish, these people see us a certain way. The other side of that, which is also important, is consider what this woman is being put forward to do. She is being put forward to sit on the Supreme Court of the United States to help interpret the governing document of the United States, which is the US Constitution. But you see from that hearings with certain people, her qualifications don't matter. Her ability to fairly, accurately, logically decipher and interpret law based on constitutional principles doesn't matter. So, what happens to a country when it gets to the point where political rivalry and politically expediency and self-serving politics driven by individual ideology? So what you're seeing again is there's no national interest here. What happens to a nation when it cannot find national interest? So we want you to really read that story and get into what we're talking about.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And you can see that, one of the things that in the title of the paper, of course, and as we heard in the Swan Song, you can always expect that it's important. And we can't stress enough the importance of making sure that we keeping our eyes on not just everything that's going on, because we should be aware. But it's always interesting that what you expect from the final call is that we know that there's a dominant narrative that's being played out in the media, and we always want to present a perspective that allows us to see and open our eyes outside of what's being pushed on us. So make sure, as he said, that you check out this article, Supreme Court Hearing, Expose Ongoing Anger, Unraveling of U.S. Politics. I'm going to move to the next one. There's a lot of powerful stories in this paper, as always, but a lot of them stand out even a little more so to me. This is the article. I believe you can find this on page 4, and the title is Torture and Murder, Ronald Green Case Turns Cop versus Cop.
This is one of the most tragic stories that has emerged over the last couple of years in terms of the brutality and really the murderous actions of law enforcement toward black people and black men. But the other thing is this case of our brother Ronald Green, I don't think has gotten the attention it's warranted. Basically, this was a black man. He stopped by the Louisiana state troopers. They beat him mercilessly. He dies. They say to his family he died in an automobile accident, right?
Yeah.
Eventually, videotape comes out and they show this man begging for his life. They show this poor man being beaten and at one officers. So now that the word has gotten out, now there's some investigations. Now you've got people starting to tell on each other, right? So we really want you to read this piece for yourself and start to follow this case. I think it's an important case. The other thing is it has shed light on the history of this particular law enforcement agency and a particular unit. I believe that they now put a black man in charge, quote unquote. So, inshallah, God willing, we will be following up on this case. But this is something that is such brutality, such a human rights violation, such a merciless, bestial act. This man was tased, he was beaten, he was kicked. He was stopped for a traffic infraction. brutalized, beaten, ended up dead. And now all of these things are coming out about people covering up information. The governor of the state apparently knew some things and he didn't say what he knew. So these are the types of things, brothers and sisters, that we're always looking to come to light. And some may say, well, why do you keep telling us the same story? Well, because maybe we're not quite getting the message. But when you're seeing the same thing happen all over the country, and you're seeing also the failure of the federal government to act to protect us from crimes at the state level, maybe we need to start looking at something different. Maybe we need to start looking at whether or not we actually can get along together with these people in peace. And if we cannot get along together with these people in peace, the next logical step is we don't need to be with them. Just like when you got a man and a woman that are married that can't get along, they separate, they divorce, they go their separate ways, and they may be very happy without each other. Over time, they may even be able to work better on basic things. If they've got children, they can work on what's good for the children, right? If they have family members on both sides that they still love, they may work on what can we do to help grandma, what can we do to help grandpa, even though we don't necessarily love each other. So maybe if we're not with these people, and if we are in an independent state or territory of our own, maybe our relations will be better nation to nation, as opposed to being among a people that don't want us, beat us, kill us, humiliate us. So finalcall.com, go read, like, subscribe, share, and continue to support media that supports you.
And just echoing the title of the paper, the name of the paper is not just random. This is the final call. And we can't stress enough or too many times that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad pushed towards us that separation is the best and only solution. Separation is the best and only solution. And this is the final call. The call is being made that after we're taught that after all else fails, it's Islam. And not necessarily what you may think or see is Islam, but it's submission to do the will of God. So we have a man that has been lifted up in our midst, that has guided us and continues to guide us. And through this paper is an assistant to that allows us to see what's going on and makes the clear option to us so much clear. If you didn't know by now, if you don't believe by now that we have to do something different, then I don't know what. But the worst is yet to come. But on the other side of that, of course, the best is yet to come as well. So I'm gonna keep it moving, going through these articles. Tennessee could scale back oversight of majority Black towns' finances. What's going on?
Again, we want you to look at this for yourself. But essentially, you've got a small Black town in Tennessee, Mason, Tennessee, and now you've got the possibility of a major employer, actually, Ford, bringing a factory, and now the state wants to take over, right? So, man, you just got to read and see just how continually there's always moves made against us. There's always justification for people outside of us that want to control what we do. Think about Flint, Michigan. It was the state of Michigan that imposed basically somebody that gave them, the state basically put somebody in place that was beholden to the state and the governor and not the people of Flint, Michigan. And that person made decisions that were absolutely wrong. Our people suffered. So we have a similar situation again now, but it's about money. Who's going to control the money, right? Who's going to control the money? So again, these are stories we want you to keep watching, keep looking, keep learning. And this is the final call.
And I mean, this just shows what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad it brings to light and gives even a better picture to see in which a lens in which to look and see the words that he gave us. Is that our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. And with all that is going on in the world, we can just see that if we will, as we become more unified, that we can have an impact and our voice can be heard. There's a beautiful lecture. I don't know if you know the name of it, but the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan addressed in Cobra in Detroit, Michigan, and talked about the importance of us finding cities and places in which we're the dominant or majority and beginning to take over the government. But with that, also, we have to consider and know that that's a threat to the current structure. So we have to be able to enter into trade with people who look like us and have our best interests at heart and begin to work together to help to support and make sure we're in a position to do that. So praise you to Allah. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I see the article, and we're not going to go. This is a short, abbreviated program tonight, but you see reports new black channels shutting down. Of course, the brothers are out in the street and the community, as we can always see that. And one of the things that with that is so important is that as we're telling you that it's the final call, one of the things that the Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us is that we have to eat now. And not only do we have to eat now, we have to live now. So while we know that the fall of America is happening as this world is falling apart, that doesn't mean that you're not going to see the brothers in the street being a light. So as long as we can be out in the street and community, we want to be those who are out in the community, showing you that there's hope, but not hope and faith in this system, but there's hope and faith in us if we can work together and trust each other to build a new world and new reality.
And for over the past 2 years of this pandemic, the FOI, the Men of the Nation of Islam, the Fruit of Islam, have gone out and they have continued to go out and spread this truth to warn our people about what is happening, because the scripture talks about a warning, a divine warning that will come. And those who are given that word must deliver that warning. And so every week we like to highlight, showcase what we call these little messengers of God, or these little messengers of Allah, men who have accepted the truth, who are willing to tell the truth, and who are willing to take the truth to others. So we really always want to commend and uplift that work, because it's an honorable work. And there's probably no more important work in the world than when you're carrying a divine word. And that word is designed to save, restore, and resurrect an entire people.
Yes, sir. Praise you to Allah. Thank you for that. Well, of course, every week, by Allah's permission, we have our special section of the Final Call newspaper, the COVID-19 and the U.S. policy of depopulation, letting us know about the conspiracy. Not even sometimes, when you say conspiracy, we have this thing as if it's a theory and it's questionable and if it's real or not. But the beauty of this section is that it's providing research and providing actual facts that you can look up and see for yourself, further research and the actual facts. So this week, of course, not like as usual, you can expect to see that. And I have a beautiful article, how the pandemic was fabricated. So you want to check that out. And as well with that is you have to make sure that if you have not heard for some reason, or if you haven't heard it lately, that you take the opportunity to check out the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's address, the criterion that can be viewed at media.noi.org/video/the-criterion. Or if you just go to media.noi.org, you can find that beautiful message that is still unraveling and showing the revelation and divine guidance that the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. And of course, after you watch that one, you want to make sure, of course, I know you probably already watched it, but go ahead and take another opportunity to do it again and watch. Make sure you check out the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's last public address, which was entitled The Swan Song. And you can do that by going to noi.org/SD2022. So I'm keeping it moving. Of course, we have following that the depopulation briefs or actually the article. Actually the next article is the depopulation brief, which is presented to us on a weekly basis by the Nation of Islam research group, providing information and insight that allows us to see the plan for our enemy, our open enemies, and some of those who aren't as open, that their population, their plan for the depopulation of our people. So, moving to the next piece, we have Jamaica protests. Protesters demand reparations and sprung royal during an official visit. Can you give us a little insight on that?
Yeah, this was something that was really important, and I'm only going to tease you a bit with it. So, of course, we know that the British have ruled the Caribbean nations, many of them, Jamaica being one, and others. But you recently had members of the royal family visit the Caribbean, Jamaica, some other countries. Generally, when they come, it's a big thing. Well, this time it was a little different because people were saying, basically, we don't even want you here, man. We want reparations and we want full and complete freedom. So it says something about the awakening of our people. So read this article and see what's happening in accord with something that we call Black Universal Rights.
Yes, sir. Praise due to Allah. You can see that same cry, that universal cry for basically freedom, justice, and equality is being made by people all across the diaspora. And once again, our unity is more powerful than an atomic bomb. So praise due to Allah. I have not gotten to this article, but I definitely plan on getting into it and checking that out and getting deeper insight on what our brothers from across the different parts of the world are doing in the fight for freedom, justice, and equality. So keeping it moving. Of course, that takes us to page. I'm scrolling through. I will jump to help me out. Happy Independence Day. I think you mentioned this one. French nuclear testing, health hazards, dirty war deaths, torture, abuse, and Algeria, yet unresolved post-war issue. Brother Nava? Brother Nava, are you with us? Well, I'm going to keep it moving and at least give us an overview of as we go through, and inshallah, he'll pop back on. But let me pull this up. Give me one moment. So, Brother Nab, are you back? Brother Nab, are you back? Okay. Having technical issues, but we'll work through them by Allah's grace and permission. So as you can see, going to the next page, we're on page 15. Distinguished UK academics call on universities worldwide to divest from Israel for Palestine. Beautiful article. Haven't had a chance to get this far in the paper, but I'm still working on it by Allah's grace and permission. And inshallah, while we're checking and seeing if our brother gets back on, at minimum, I can give you an overview so you can see a snapshot for those who have not received the paper yet. You can go ahead and see an overview right now. General Iran missile strikes, and I think we got him back. Brother Nab, are you with us?
I
Brother
hope
Nava.
so. I hope
Yep.
so.
Yes, sir.
I, I, I hope I'm back. I hope
You're
you can
back.
hear me now.
I can hear you now.
Okay, well, all right. Let's skip all of this. Let's get to the real stuff since we got these technical problems. Ramadan, beautiful article. Let's go to the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. Then let's go to the minister, and we'll wrap this up for the night. In lieu of these technical problems, very, very, very important article here. The war, America cannot win the victory. You got to read this for yourself in terms of what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad says about the time and the God that is operating in this time. We should really not be mistaken about that. And so he warns that America would not be successful in war, that she would not win another war. This is in the 60s and the 70s. America has been in war since then, but she ain't won one yet. So read that. Very important. Then we got the minister's article, which is, I think this is just really incredible. This is part 5 of the Swan Song. So I say, brothers and sisters, we have really been blessed because we have 5 installments of this beautiful message that the minister gave for almost 5.5 hours with this presentation. We have 5 installments of excerpts. This particular article, someone said to me today, if you don't know about Minister Farrakhan, or if you want to really know about him, they said this installment of the Swan Song tells you everything you need to know about this man. Who he is, why he does what he does, what motivates him, what his history is. So this is really beautiful. We're very proud and honored to be able to bring this work to our readers and to our people and to the world. We're very proud that we've been able to deliver 5 installments. That's like a study guide. I think that's like a book. And that alone is worth the price of the paper. That alone, notwithstanding everything else.
Praise
So we really want you to read this one and get into it, study it. Go to the beautiful thing is right now, you can go to finalcall.com and read some of these. You can read these articles for free right now. But of course, in order for us to keep doing what we're doing, we need your support. So we're steadily working on ways to get your support. So one way, of course, to support the print edition with people like Brother Lewis, who's out there in San Antonio on every Saturday in San Antonio, Texas, at the Mayat Market. You can get the final call from Brother Lewis. You can also get the digital subscription and support an institution that's devoted to informing you, that's devoted to enlightening you, that's devoted to defending you, and ultimately that's devoted to resurrecting you, playing a role in your resurrection, your mental, your spiritual, your economic resurrection. So we thank you for coming on, and we really hope that you've enjoyed this session. We hope that you will like it, share it, and we'll continue to work on these sessions. And you should feel free to let us know what you think. And even if there are things that you want to know or ways that you feel we can better present what we do, we'd love to hear from you as well. Brother Troy, back to you.
Yes, I praise you to a lot. Well, thank you. I noticed, and we always got to show appreciation for our consistent brother. Brother Lewis holds it down for us, for real.
Every week.
So, I mean, we come on in the morning, we come in at night, and he's still there supporting his brothers. So praise you to a lot. Thank you for that. Trying to, by Allah's grace and permission, keep it consistent. And I don't know what week we're in from not missing a week. But praise you to Allah, by Allah's permission, we'll keep on doing what we can in service to the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan. Praise you to Allah. So with that said, thank you all once again. We look forward to seeing your comments, your feedback. Make sure if you have not already done so that you go back and revisit the criterion that you go back and listen and review the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan's last address. Seeing the video is beautiful. Reading the article is beautiful. You need to get this message in, which we may not, we don't know when we'll hear from him again. So please make sure you digest the words and keep on feeding off of it. One of the beautiful things in addition to that is that if for those who may not know, we have a weekly meeting on Friday evening to self-improvement, the basis for community development study course. And in that course, there's beautiful correlations. And if you've seen the instructions that have come from Student Minister Ava Muhammad, we've had the honor and privilege of seeing how these things are interwoven right now, that we're being provided divine guidance so that we can self-examine, self-analyze, and self-correct ourselves and be in the best position and pleasing to Allah as we move to this next phase in our development. So please make sure you check out study.noi.org. And of course, inshallah, you check out our message that we release a new message every Wednesday, and you can check that out at media.noi.org. And then by Allah's grace and permission, on Sunday, you get to hear the life-giving teachers of the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan right here again, media.noi.org and or noi.org. With that said, thank you again for joining us. Until next time, Behind the Final Call cover story. Any other words, Brother Naba? I guess not. Well, I'm going to say this. Ramadan Mubarak. For those who may be listening to this after we have entered into the holy month of Ramadan, pray that Allah
Stay
bless
tuned.
you.
Like, follow, subscribe, share.
Praise you to Allah. And may Allah bless you with a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Ramadan. Until next time, Assalamu alaikum. Behind the Final Call cover story.
Now you can get the same uncompromising truth you've come to expect from the Final Call newspaper on all your connected devices. Subscribe to the Final Call Digital Edition today. Go to subscribe.finalcalldigital.com.